This film is a result of when a filmmaker is devoid of any limitation, when the sky is the limit for this visionary. I don't know about the present, but this film and this filmmaker will go down in history. Let's talk about it. Hello guys, I'm Nona Prince and today we're talking about the latest Malayalam film Malaikottai Vaaliban, directed by Lijo Jose Pellissery. I was supposed to catch this film sooner, but I got late and I'm very well aware of what's happening on social media. I don't know about the details, but the mixed and bad reviews the film is getting and that whole discourse which I'll talk about later in the video. Now 2024 has been great till now because most films are releasing near me, that too with subtitles. But the first thing I want to talk about is a complaint. This film has one of the worst subtitle work I've seen in a theatrical film. I took some pictures, I'll put it on screen. Like the whole subtitle was in a single line and that line was getting cut off at the edges. At many places the subs were out of sync, some moments they were missing. A lot of places where there's Malayalam text on screen, it was not translated in the subtitle. And these are just the basic technical things. Subtitling is an art. And even if you're not going to that level, at least give it some attention that technically it's right. Otherwise, what's the point? The other thing about the subtitles, which is not actually a complaint, the English used was very high level literature. They were words I have never heard in my life. You know, the ones you find in poetry. And that has been a case with, Lijo Jose Pellissery films in the past also. Maybe you could have translated them to much simpler terms, or maybe it's just me, I have a very weak vocabulary. There were many instances where this meme played in my head. But that aside, let's talk about the film. The filmmaking was just outstanding. First, let's talk about the visuals. They were one of the most stunning imagery I've seen in cinema. So beautiful with meaning. The composition of shots, the framing, the frames within a frame, the lighting used, the day shots, the night shots, the different layers in a shot. There's foreground, midground and background. The staging of the scene and the characters. Nothing looked dull. Everything was busy. It was complex. Like you could pause at any moment and study the scene. And it was given from the trailer itself. The colors used, the mesmerizing visuals, the long wide shots where you can see the vanishing point, the vastness of this world. Absolutely gorgeous. Scene after scene, I was like, wow, more wow, more wow. And the moment I thought that's it, followed by another amazing visual. I was just overwhelmed by the visuals. If you have seen my Cardle the Core review, I can do a scene by scene breakdown of the entire film. It can be a 2 to 3 hour long video. The production value, the set design, the costuming, the makeup, everything was top notch. The next thing that stood out for me was the way the sound was used in the film. If you watch the film with spatial sound, I think then only this will work. Because you are hearing the sound from the distance from where the sound is coming to the camera. If the camera is placed very far, you will hear the echo. It will not be very clear. But when you're closer, it will be crisp. And the film uses that to tell you the distance between a character and an object. Every action in the film is given a sound. That's obvious that every action will have a sound. But I'm not talking about the sound that action will create. But every action is given a music, a rhythm. It will be either the sound of a damru or a few strings that will accompany that movement. Honestly, I'm not the best person to explain this, but you get my point. Even the music in the film, so good, especially the theme music for the main character. I love it. And there's also item number in a LJP film. That too done with so much craft. Because it's not just a random song happening. It's part of the narrative. It's showed like a theater play. It's a group of performers who travel from place to place. There's a song which I reacted to also, where two lovers just looking at each other and singing in their mind. And there's a very funky piece of music too, which feels very odd, but somehow it works. Now coming to the action in the film, which is shot with super slow motion, which makes it look epic. The set pieces are very well designed. Definitely they went over ambitious with it. At many places it was obvious that wire work was at play, but at no instance it looks bad. It's quite convincing and does it funky at moments. There's some kind of martial arts at play. I like that there was no repetition, no just punching stuff. It was fresh every time and none of the action moments felt forced. And we even get a machine gun trope that we're seeing in all the action films in this one also, which is very different. I think if you have seen the posters, you know what I'm talking about. A multi-cannon kind of machine gun, if you may. And even in the action sequences, there's a lot of artistry, the way it's shot. At a moment, we only see the shadows of the two people fighting. And the film has so many crowd shots which are done so well. You feel the presence of so many people. Being placed in that crowd, you feel the claustrophobia. And to make the characters stand out in the crowd, everyone is wearing a mask, which just adds a different dimension to it altogether. Now coming to the narrative of the film, it's actually a typical anime storyline. Now there were some rumors that this film is inspired from some old Japanese film. I'm not sure about that. You can let me know in the comments. But it is a typical action-adventure western film where we have a hero who's charismatic, who's kind of invincible. He does the right thing, he brings justice, and he also loves eating food and always flirting. He's a fighter who goes to village to challenge their best fighter and defeat them, and then continues his journey, continues his conquest. And that in a way is kind of a basic plot for so many animes. Pokemon, Beyblade, Naruto. And the film never gives us a specific time period where it exists. You can try to guess it with different hints given. But for me, I take it as a fantasy world. It is some alternate dimension where it's set in a period where there was no technology, and the film establishes its own rules. How a fighter challenges the other fighter, and if that fighter loses, their head will be shaven and they have to ride a donkey. Then they inscribe stones which talk about that fighter. And whenever a new fighter wins, a new stone is placed with their tail. Then each fighter has an announcer who carries a drum and announces how great the fighter is. And the film gives you so much that it feels like it's a middle chapter. There can be a prequel to it, there can be a sequel to it, which is hinted at the end. It is left on a cliffhanger, and that ending can be considered as a top 10 anime plot twist. Didn't see that coming at all. And there are hints to the backstory, who these characters are, and it's given slowly, it's not given at once. It is spread out through the film. And whatever I got to witness in this 2 or 30 minutes, I enjoyed it. And I want to relive in this world again. Coming to the cast, everyone did a great job. I think this film, this character was written for Mohanlal's persona. In that sense, it is a hero film. You know, the charisma, the playfulness which I've witnessed of Mohanlal in his older films, I saw that in this film. And he performs it with ease. But the revelation for me was Danish Seth. I've seen his videos online. He's very funny. But the performance he gave in this film, first of all, I didn't recognize him. It took me some while. And then what he did was amazing. Quite a surprise. Now there is an opportunity for part 2, and somewhere I have this hope that they can actually cast Mammootty for part 2. This is one of the best chance to get both of them together in a film, maybe pitched against each other. So now let's talk about the director, Lijo Jose Pellissery, who I call and refer to as a genius. And if you don't know, I'm a big admirer of his work. And if you think I'm biased towards the film, let me tell you why. I feel like all his previous films prepared me for this film, because this is not LJP making a commercial film. This is LJP's commercial film. There's a big difference. I think out of all of his films, this one has the most mass appeal. A close second would be an Angamali Diary or a Imayu. Watching Malaikottai Vaaliban, I could sense what freedom can do to a director. What a director like Lijo could do without restraints. He could bring everything in his mind to the screen with least friction. And watching his films, I've realized that he's a person who gives a middle finger to all the norms and rules of filmmaking. You cannot force fit his films into templates. 3x structure or a mass masala film formula, you cannot apply that to this film. Instead, he does the opposite. He likes to break all of this. Like most commercial films would have a pre-interval bang or the interval block. But what did LGP did in this film? He did a post-interval block. Like the biggest action sequence of the film comes right after the interval. He doesn't save it for the climax. Instead, in the climax, we don't get a fight at all. Instead, we get a personal conflict between the characters. But even that sequence is scaled. It's done epically. It gives you anxiety what's gonna happen. Most of Lijo's films are timeless. They don't have any boundaries. And it's the same with this film. He just got a large canvas to mount this narrative. And I'm a big fan of his rebellion, which gives us something extraordinary every time. And it's very clear that none of it is out of that he's over smart. He knows better than everyone else. There's no sense of arrogance. Instead, it's an attempt to do something different. And you know, as cinephiles, as someone who watch a lot of films, it does get saturated because you have consumed so much that every time you're watching something, you will notice some reference to some other film or some inspiration from some other film. So the magic you had in the beginning watching films starts to fade away, and watching cinema soon starts to become a chore. And there come directors like LJP with something so refreshing, which reignites the magic, which brings back the awe we had, watching films in the beginning. It brings out the child within us. It gives you the joy of watching film. And I felt that joy watching this film throughout. See, for every filmmaker, it's a level playing field. Doesn't matter if you have a budget of 1,000 crore or 10 crore. Everyone gets only two mediums, the audio and the visual, to convey their story. It's all about how you use that. See, I didn't read and watch any reviews why people are not liking this. I don't know the details. But I can understand that this film will not work for everyone because it's new. We don't know how to consume something like this, how to apprehend it. And it's not that I am better than you, that I understood the film and you didn't. That's not the case. I'm just sharing my opinion, my approach towards the film, and you can agree or disagree with it. That's totally fine. But what I hate in this cinephile culture is the hierarchy people create. How a class divide is created, that only intellectuals can understand this film. It's not for everyone. Like there's an elite club, only those people can understand a film, and other people don't know what cinema is and don't know how it works. If you didn't understand the film, you're not smart enough. That's not the case. You cannot degrade people for not thinking like you. People form views based on their life experiences, things they have been exposed to, their understanding of cinema, and you cannot force things on each other. Actually, for me, if this film was a typical commercial film and most people would have enjoyed it, I would be actually disappointed, because I know LGP is an author. The films he make is an artistic expression. I'm always rooting for him and his films because I know he'll give you something different. He will not let go of his unique voice, which is very precious. You get such directors once in a generation, and I am so happy that I could witness this film in my lifetime. This film may work for you or not, but I can definitely say you will have a unique experience watching it, and I just hope it doesn't take 10 years for people to realize what this film really is. Now, I don't know if this film will get acceptance, I don't know if it will make money at the box office, I don't know if we'll get part 2, but what I'm certain about is that this film, just like Captain Miller, is a start to something new in Indian cinema, and it's gonna be a game changer. Now, Malaikottai Vaaliban was one of my most anticipated film of the year, and in this video I talked about the other films I'm really looking forward to in 2024. So check it out. What do you think? Do let me know thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you next time.